Welcome to Advent of Tessellations 2025. My name is Madonna Yoder, and you're joining hundreds of folders around the world on this 25-day journey into the infinite world of repeating patterns folded from a single sheet of paper. You'll discover many different twists in this challenge, building up to advanced patterns with flagstone motifs of trapezoid twists. Welcome to day 23 of Advent of Tess 2025. We're folding this pattern I designed named Mystery Weave. It has tube pleat spacing everywhere, and all of the twists are on one side. So this is a significant drop in difficulty level from the patterns that we've seen so far. There is one new twist, the double depth closed hexagon twist, which we can go ahead and get into right away. I'm using a 24 division triangle grid on a hexagon, and we're going to start the same way as a normal closed hexagon twist, with the mountain folds going out to the corners. But this time we are going to put the valley folds 2 spaces away. So the valley fold will be 2 spaces above the mountain fold on each of the 6 sides. And this can be a little more challenging to keep a hold of. It can particularly be more challenging to keep stable and to make sure that the valley folds stay where they're supposed to be, because it's not just that it's on the grid line, it's that it's 2 grid lines in. What I find helpful is to press the pleat down into the paper. And as you get that second pleat, also press that down. Notice that everything close to me is really 3D. There's a lot of room under there. And I'm going to use the table to stabilize the plates. Notice I'm using the side of my left hand to hold those plates in place. And the feature that you'll see appearing in the center is like the typical closed hexagon, but there's 2 grid spaces per edge. And so we want to help that shape appear 1 pleat at a time, using the table to keep everything in place. And once all 6 of our pleats have been folded, we need to go and check, like this one, for example, the valley came off of the second grid line. And for this twist, it is actually more reasonable to kind of pinch at the corners, start getting it headed down, and just let it sink and back twist a little. So I have more freedom to do this because I'm working at a higher grid resolution. What you want to be careful about, though, is that the paper only folds on grid lines. Right in here, you can see the paper snagged a bit, and so I'm going in with my bone folder and putting those folds back on grid lines, making that a clean fold. And I want to make sure that that's happened on all 6 sides. Here's another one that's not so clean. So this is the downside of this method. And then I'm going to take each of these corners and move them over. So not 1 corner over, but 2 corners over, so that the pleat coming in becomes straight. I'm going to move these corners, and at some point these corners tucked under are going to pop open, and that's how I can get my double depth closed hexagon twist into place. From here, I'm going to add closed trapezoid twists, and my valley folds are going to be on the grid line, right in line with these folded mountains, which is 2 spaces away from the valley under the hexagon. Excuse me. What I'm going to do is fold the closed hexagon back, so I have a nice big space to work. And this is a closed trapezoid. We already have the double depth pleat, so my remaining single depth pleats are all going to come to the same grid intersection. It's been a while since we folded a closed trapezoid, and I can set up the rest of these single depth pleats. And as I'm setting that up, that trapezoid is going to snap into place. It's going to look like a rhombus, but it has that extra little leg and the broomstick arrangement or crow's foot arrangement of the pleats, the double depth pleat and then the 3 single depth pleats. And we'll press from the top to squash. From there, I'll fold the half of a hexagon back on top, and then I have choices. I'm going to choose to work around counterclockwise because I know that the next twist is going to be on this same side of the paper, and I want to make that as easy as possible. So the trade-off here is there are many trade-offs. By going counterclockwise around the paper, if I'm going to fold these layers back, I am folding through this existing trapezoid, but the grid line on the inside is the same as the grid line on the outside, assuming I need to fold back. And I really just need it out of the way so it can stay vertical. Not really a problem. By doing it this way, I get the friendlier overlap with the rhombus twist that's coming. And, but with the unfriendly overlap, then I would get all the mountain folds of the rhombus. At this point, I think you know how to identify a rhombus twist, so I'll go with the easier way to have the pleats ordered. Opening that up, I've got those same 2 spaces between these parallel valley folds, and I'm going to have all 3 single depth pleats of this closed trapezoid twist coming to the same point, and as those are setting up, at some point it will snap around, so up and around, and we'll get that little zigzag in the leg of that trapezoid, and press to squash. At this point, it's a good time to address the pleat overlap, which, as I mentioned earlier, is going to become a rhombus twist. Specifically, it's going to become a closed rhombus twist. And we can press from the top to squash. And then rotate and repeat. I'll lift the edge of the hexagon. Really, I wouldn't need to, but it's so many layers. There's 2 layers here and another 2 here. I just like to get it up out of the way before putting in the new closed trapezoid. And there it was fighting me on the rotation because this valley fold was not very firmly in place. And squash. And then I can put my hexagon back as I find and squash my rhombus twist. And here's a bit of bonus information. We are going to have a tube plate of these single depth plates, the middle single depth plate of the trapezoid, and this plate of the rhombus. Going to make a tube. So that's a good reference if you're struggling to locate the rhombus. The plate coming from the more recent trapezoid is the through line of the rhombus as well. So with that, all of the plates are determined. And I can go to the next trapezoid. And rhombus. And I'm trying to think through the patterns we've folded so far, and I don't think there's been one yet where we have hexagon, trapezoid, rhombus, and triangle. So this is the first with all four of those. We've had just triangle, we've had rhombus and triangle, we've had hexagon, triangle, and rhombus, we've had trapezoid and triangle, hexagon, triangle, trapezoid, and then the mixed depth twists. But not directly hexagon, trapezoid, rhombus, and triangle. And then we can get the next trapezoid, set up, and squash the next rhombus. When I say those closed trapezoids look like rhombus twists, they really look like rhombus twists. But you can't mix it up because you have a double depth pleat coming in. So it absolutely has to be a trapezoid there. And for this final mixed depth closed trapezoid, we do cause a pleat overlap over here. In addition to the typical pleat overlap that we've been having. And once I resolve this rhombus twist, I can go and open this pleat overlap. And like I mentioned, this is the unfriendly overlap where once it's opened, you already have the 4 mountain folds of your closed rhombus twist. From here, I'll just take a moment to admire the backside. You might want to stop here. It does have a nice, pretty edge. But what I'm going to do is go one step further and add in the twists that, well, technically the rhombus twist already is determining a lot about the symmetry of the pattern and how it repeats. But we'll go ahead and throw in some open triangle twists, again at tube pleat spacing. So I'm going to have my valley fold one space out from this folded mountain, my mountain fold one space further, and this will be an open triangle twist. And each of these triangle twists is completely independent of the others. So you can do these in any order, working your way around to each of the corners of the paper. And that is our pattern for today. Now this pattern, I actually was doing some playing around the other day and came up with another alternate ending for this pattern that I haven't folded yet. But I do have a tutorial for how to fold more repeats of tumbling block weave, the alternate ending for mystery weave that we're folding here. And that tutorial is on my YouTube channel. You can see lots and lots of videos in my Fold More Repeats playlist, and this is one of them. So in order to get more repeats of this pattern, you're going to treat the rhombus twist as a position of 2-fold rotational symmetry, so you see the same things on opposite sides, and the triangle as a position of 3-fold rotational symmetry, so you see the same things on 3 sides. So this amount that we folded here does contain enough information to get the full pattern back out. So this is the repeats of mystery weave. One of the cool things about these patterns is that you can have a pleated border. Very nice. And then tumbling block weave, which uses open trapezoids, open rhombus twists, and still regular open triangle twists to get everything to work out. So happy folding, everyone. I do want to see what you have folded from this video. Please tag me at Gathering Folds on Instagram or Facebook, or share on my Discord server, which you can get when you sign up for emails at training.gatheringfolds.com, whether emails for this series or for another series. And if you'd like to learn more about these kinds of patterns, how to fold with more repeats, how to read crease patterns, I've got courses for all of these different skills at training.gatheringfolds.com. And those 2 patterns that I just showed are in the Advent of Tess 2025 ebook, which you can find at gatheringfolds.com, origamiusa.org, or origamishop.com. So happy folding, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow when we are folding a very similar pattern that now puts these twists back on alternating sides of the paper. And we get this lovely flagstone motif of 6 trapezoids. See you there.